Now, I wanted to set up this whole section on the different types of jobs you get as a developer. Mostly because when I first started working in development, I honestly didn't think there was much different than just, typing code, maybe working on front end related jobs. But there's actually a whole slew of different developer jobs and even jobs that you might not need to write that much code. So, most common ones are the ones that are physically writing code, development related jobs. The one you probably envision is front end development. Now, this is my guess that most Flutter related jobs would be a front end developer job. That's where you're actually designing the UI and how your app looks, and even the UX of how it acts and everything like that. Depending on the size of the team, you might have some designers that give you mock-up documents of how they want it to look, how they want things to act, and you have to turn those documents into code. Now, the other type of developer is a backend developer. So if you remember, applications are mostly data, and you have to store that data in some place and deal with authentication, all those things. There are whole development teams that work on making that data storage and authentication and cloud services all work seamlessly on the back end. To get into some that are maybe less heard of, there's developer operations, or DevOps for short. Now, these are developers that write code, basically that work with the systems of releasing an application or getting the application tested within the company. Basically, the whole process of the actual code going from within the company or getting started all the way to getting released to the customers. Now, DevOps deal with CI/CD related things, where that's the automation that does the actual releasing and checking and testing the code that it works well. Maybe they deal with some microservices and all the things related to that. Now, there are also roles where you might not need to be developing code that much. For example, there's project managers at every software company. Now, there's different levels of project managers, and depending which level, it depends on what kind of things you will be working on. So there's overall project managers at the top. They're basically designing the software architecture and how that architecture works. They're probably running a lot of design documents and, with arrows pointing one block to another. Then you can go one step lower. People might be designing each small parts of it. And there's things like Scrum Master or Agile Developer Master. I don't know what those people's names would be called directly, but they're the ones that are assigning the tickets and assigning the tasks for a period of time. So they're the ones giving out tickets that need to be done within a timeline and making sure that the actual process of things getting done gets accomplished within the company. And they're checking in to make sure everyone's staying within their boundaries and things are getting done on time and staying on task. And then there's my favorite field. So this is developer relations. This is where I actually currently work. So developer relations, or DevRel, it's kind of like it sounds. It's creating relationships with the developers that are using the product. So most companies nowadays, I guess not most companies, but a lot of companies are companies that are either selling some APIs or some sort of software solution for developers to use. So they need a way to interact with those developers using their products to make their own product better. And that's where DevRel falls in. But DevRel has a lot of different fields in it as well. You could have a variety of different roles within DevRel. So everything stems in from the community. So this role, you might be looking at something like a community manager. So this role, gets the word out, maybe gets people working on community-related projects, maybe creating events or hosting events about the product and things like that, getting people into the funnel of the developer relations team. Then there's developer marketing, which is marketing but specialized for developers. I think this works closely with developer education, which is my favorite field. So developer education is where you're actually teaching people how to use those APIs and tools that your company is developing. Maybe that could be through the documentation. Maybe it could be through YouTube videos or through some blog articles or something like that. For example, with YouTube videos, you're probably hitting both of these sections because you're both educating and marketing your product a little bit. Now, the last section is developer success. This is where you might be creating some tools for developers that make it easier to work with your product, or maybe interacting with developers directly to helping them solve the issues that they're running into. So those are some of the different sections of developers, and I'm sure there are more niche ones, but these are the big ones.